Welcome back to the Unstuck movement. I am your host, Rob Z. This platform created to give you real life examples that breakthrough is possible for you and to break those chains that have been holding you back in your life personally and professionally. Today, we have the incredible Victoria Mensch with us on the show. We're talking innovation, self-leadership, burnout, disruption, well-being today. And I love to jump into a powerful question right off the jump, Victoria. I want to talk about burnout-proof leadership. What does burnout-proof leadership mean? How can we achieve that for our lives?
It's a very big question. I dedicated a few years of my life to answer this. But I think on the first, what comes to mind first is really resilience and sustainable productivity. I think these are two kind of pillars. When I think about burnout-proof leadership, I think about these two pillars. For better or worse, when we think about success, when we think about leadership, we think about success. And when we think about success, we often think that it comes at the expense of happiness. The burnout leadership is really something that brings harmony into these two categories. Success does not mean happiness. Happiness does not mean that you're unsuccessful. There is a harmony in that. And in that harmony, you can actually have a sustainable burnout-proof leadership. Does that make sense, Rob?
That does make sense, and I love that. It's a great approach to it, and something that we, as leaders, should all be striving for. And I'm really excited to talk to you because when we think of burnout, the word that always comes to mind for me is strain. Right? It's like straining to get more done, straining to do more, pushing yourself past your limits on a continuous basis, which leads to you being burnout, obviously. For me, on the other end of that, I picture harmony. Harmony is everything kind of working together. And I guess I wanted to ask you this question as I'm just kind of thinking about this to myself. How do you take that strain and that harmony and blend them together for a perfect marriage, right? Because the strain will drive you forward, but at a rate that's unsustainable. The harmony might not drive you as much to get where you want to go. How do you kind of balance those?
Well, it helps to understand what burnout is and what we mean when we say harmony. So, burnout, you said strain, right? Most people say exhaustion. So, the red thread among people who suffer from burnout or pre-burnout and burnout symptoms, it's really exhaustion. People feel tired. They can't get enough rest. No matter how long you sleep, no matter how many days of vacation you take, you go back and you immediately get into that exhaustion mode. So from that perspective, nobody really can sustain it for long. So when we talk about harmony, when I talk about harmony, I'm really talking about a state of flourishing. So burnout is really extreme, right? So when you're not motivated anymore, some people become really demotivated. There's some physiological symptoms, loss of appetite, or cravings, loss of sleep, or too much sleep. Whatever your stress response is, multiply that by 10, 20, 30, the chances are you're experiencing burnout. So, but then that's one side of the equation. Another one is, where do you want to be? So when you think about harmony, when I talk about harmony, I really talk about the state of flourishing. You have a sense of vitality. You have energy when you wake up in the morning. You have all these plans and goals. So it's the opposite of being demotivated. You are motivated. You're full of life. And that harmony really comes from a few categories. So job or work is just one of those. Financial stability is another one of those. But there's also a sense of purpose. There's also a sense of vitality. There's also your relationships, your relationship to yourself, your relationship to your close one, relationship to your community. So when we talk about harmony and we talk about flourishing, there's really all these categories that need to come to play. When we speak about burnout, what usually happens is that we're very focused on one single thing and we sacrifice everything else for the sake of this.
Yeah, very true. And that is what tends to happen. It's just this focusing on something that you know, especially in the culture we live in America, it just feels like that's how sometimes you feel like that's how you have to go. You watch a lot of people on social media. You're like everybody's just driving. They're hustling, and it's unrealistic. Maybe some people can run super hard for long periods of time, but most of us we need to find that balance. So I love that answer. That's really good. So before we go any further, I just want to welcome people here. So this platform we created the Unstuck movement because for me personally, I've had many places where I was stuck in my life and found breakthrough. And everybody that comes on the show was stuck at some place in their life, found some amazing breakthrough. The best way to have an example that it's possible for you is to hear a story from somebody else. We bring incredible guests like yourself on here, Victoria, who have incredible stories of breakthrough. We're sponsored by the Connected Leaders Academy. Make sure you check out connectedleadersacademy.com. Over 450 heart-centered entrepreneurs from all over the world. And also, if you're somebody who's an expert at what you do, but you want to be the go-to authority in your industry. You want to leave a lasting impact on people's lives. And you also want to make incredible connections personally and professionally. I would encourage you to launch your own podcast. If that's something you've been thinking about doing, I'd love to help you with that. You can join our wait list for the Pro Podcaster Academy at robzwentz.com. Victoria Mensch here today is the CEO of Silicon Valley Executive Academy. She blends 25 plus years of high-tech leadership experience with a Ph.D. in psychology and an MBA from UC Berkeley. She specializes in burnout-proof leadership, helping leaders balance innovation, success, and well-being. And Victoria, you talk about productive happiness in leadership, which sounds like the perfect blend of harmony and striving to be better, being productive and being happy. I'm curious about you. Your story of finding this place for yourself, because usually the things we are able to help people with are things we've gone through ourselves. Was this something that you dealt with for many years, the burnout, the straining, and where did that lead you?
Absolutely. This really comes from the experience. So the reason I kind of turned my cruise ship into this direction, my career cruise ship into this direction, is because it's coming from a personal experience. And it started kind of early. Right after high school, I really wanted to be a psychologist, hence the PhD in psychology. I thought that's my passion. This is what I want to do. So I invested my time to study. I got my bachelor in psychology, I got my master in psychology, I got my PhD in psychology, and I started working with people. I actually was a counseling psychologist. And it lasted for a year. And at the end of the year, I said, I really cannot take it anymore. I made a mistake. That was a mistake. I thought I was following my passion, but it turned out that this is something that really does not make me happy. So I need to switch. For sure, it's my mistake. For sure is because I chose the wrong field. So I switched to a corporate job. I looked at all the options, the skills that I have, and I decided that marketing was the closest for the skill set that I acquired through all my education. So that's what I did. And I started in marketing in a semiconductor company. And a couple of years later, I found myself in the same shoes. So, oh, okay, I made another mistake. I thought I wanted to do marketing, and this is not it. I actually, the same way I feel tired, I feel exhausted, I feel unmotivated. I don't have energy, all those things that I experienced a couple of years before. And I decided that was the external circumstances that led to that. All of this I experienced again. And I switched my career a little bit more. I went and I got an MBA, and I, got another marketing job with a different industry, and so on and so forth. I mean, it was a successful career, yes, but I experienced this cycle a few times before I realized that, yes, the circumstances do contribute. There are disruptions out there. There are economical disruptions. There are political disruptions. There are technological disruptions. There are some personal, circumstances in your life that contribute to that. But a lot of this really comes from within, from not having tools to switch the mindset and to bring that harmony from within to without. So that's actually what led to this productive happiness concept. Yes. So when we find ourselves in this stressful, let's say in the kind of chronic stress situation, there is a tendency to attribute the cause really to external circumstances. Oh, I don't have a good boss. This toxic culture in the company. This is, the system is working against me. And it's true. I'm not here to say that everything is perfect outside. What I'm saying is that there is a lot that we can do internally to switch our own mindsets, our own ways to manage stress, to set goals, and to envision that harmony for ourselves and create it for ourselves.
Very true. So, man, couldn't be more truth than that it's internally changing the way that we interact and engage and think about the outside world will change everything, our own personal internal mindset. What were some of the tools that you used that really had a huge impact on you? Like practically the stuff that you did that you were like, wow, maybe you don't notice the change immediately, but you notice over time, this had a profound impact on me, gave me that energy, gave me that drive and the motivation, sustainability that I was looking for.
Yeah, so there are a lot of those stress management tools, your breathing techniques, your visualization techniques, your movement techniques to really alleviate some of the really acute stress management reactions. But the most insightful for me was, and the most useful for me was in the beginning, is really to understand that I'm responsible for recharging my own energy bank. And the surprising part of this was that it really came from the place of inserting enjoyment, joy, and happiness into my life intentionally. When we are talking about productivity and being a leader and leading in the environment and being successful, we really disassociate this with a sense of enjoyment and joy and happiness. And we just think that it's going to come along on its own. And it doesn't. It's not how it works. Just psychologically, there's tons of research done now. What is it that contributes to our sense of happiness and how we reach that happiness, and what is success, and all the myths around this. So really intentionally bringing joy into my life was a game changer for me. So it actually allows you to prioritize those activities that re-energize you, so you have a totally different outlook in your life, right? So instead of always servicing the demands of others around you, you actually look at your own demands and your own desires and your own again, as I said, what brings you joy, and you intentionally insert it into your life. Some people like to call it self-care. That's fine with me, though I think it's a very diluted term nowadays. But that's how you recharge your energy, and that was a game changer.
Yeah, and I think joy is a much better word. I love the word joy, and it doesn't get used enough. We use the word happiness all the time. We use the word fulfillment. You hear those a lot. You don't hear joy enough. What were the things that brought you joy? Because it's interesting too when you start to think about, okay, I need to have more joy in my life, and like, what do I really enjoy, and how do I do that when it comes to my career? What did you find that did bring you joy? Did you have trouble finding out what the joyous things were, and how did you then implement them into your workday?
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. Exactly. That's exactly what happens. That once you say, oh, okay, what is it that brings me joy? It's like, I don't know. So there is an exercise that I came across this exercise, and that was really a breakthrough for me. And the exercise was to put together a list of 20 activities. And the only reason for those things to be on the list is that they make you happy. They bring joy to you. So what happened to me is that I sat down and I stopped at number 3. So it took me 2 weeks to complete the list. Can you imagine? So that's how a lot of people are. So a lot of people who come to us, to our academy, they are in the same boat. We put so much energy into our work. Mostly, we're working with professionals. We put so much energy into our work that we really forget what it is that brings joy. So that's a very good exercise to put 20 lists on the things that will bring you joy. So I actually had to go back in time, and I had to ask myself, so what was it that I enjoyed doing when I was 7 years old? What was it that brought me joy when I was 16 years old? What was it before I had kids? What was it before I got that promotion? So I really had to go back and look at that and put those things on the list. And that's step one. And even that step is a big breakthrough. First, the realization is like, oh, I forgot. Who am I? What is
Yeah.
it that I like, right? So what is it that brings me happiness? And then the second step, and that's very important as well, and that's the execution step, you actually schedule 3 of those activities every day. So now you go back to your list. Some of those activities are, significant investment in a time and money, but they don't have to be. They could be really small. It could be, well, I like to make myself coffee in the morning and sit, alone in the best corner in my house and drink that coffee and read the newspaper. And I want it to be a paper newspaper, not a digital one. So whatever it is that your soul desires, right? And you drink coffee anyway. It can be a very enjoyable and intentional moment. I'm doing this because it makes me happy. So that's how we insert these activities in your day. And then very soon, it actually happens very quickly. A week or 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, this really makes me a better person. It brings a better attitude to people around me. I'm not as angry, I'm not as tired, I'm not as frustrated. People notice that. So they actually start creating room for these activities for you so that they see a better person than you. And you understand now that's how energy works, right? So you recharge your energy this way. So you have more to contribute into your work life and into your job and into your career.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing too. If you feel like this stuff is going to interfere, like in your personal life or whatever, if the people around you notice that you're doing a lot better and they're more excited to be around you because you're in a better mood, they're going to be like, "Hey, you better get up early, or I'll give you some space in the morning so you can drink that coffee and read that newspaper because I want this version of you every day." It's not just you that benefits; people around you benefit from it. What were those? A couple of those things for you. What were they? Give me a couple of things for you that was like, oh wow, I forgot about this thing that brought me joy, and now I'm going to do it every day. Can you name a couple?
Well, this is how I started. I started small. I said I really like to feel the sun on my skin. So I would, in the middle of the day, I would go outside and I would just sit, lounge in the chair for 3 minutes. That all it took for 3 minutes and just enjoy the sun. I'm in California, so we are fortunate to have that sun. I'm sure other places have a lot of sun as well. So that was one of those. Then it's I actually really enjoyed playing tennis, and I haven't done it in a long time. And resources come along as well. So one of the challenges with playing tennis is that you need to have a partner. That's actually why people stop, right? Usually that you cannot find a partner. And then it turns out there was some kind of a platform, for local neighborhood people to find each other and play tennis. Like, oh, great, fantastic. So I started to do this tennis matches in the middle of the day or in the evening. So that was another one. I think the third one that I remember that I really like to play music, and I didn't do this in a long time. So I got a piano and I started playing again. So these things that you forget, right? So you forget that you are this multi-passionate, multi-dimensional human being. You're not just your job role. You're not just a VP of corporate communication in a whatever high-tech company, software enterprise company that sits somewhere and manages so many people. You forget that you're actually that whole person, and all these different parts that got neglected. They are really, that's the parts that contributed in that lack of energy and that sense and feeling of burnout, that you really kind of lost the sense of purpose. And the surprising part is that somehow it comes with the success, right? So if you look at the people who are successful by any means, by all means are considered to be successful. Say, okay, I got into this great college, I got this great work, job, I got this promotion. So I checked all the check marks. Why am I not happy? And now you're like on the top of a ladder and you're looking around and is this it? So that's very interesting. And that's because of all those other parts, all the talents and skills and your desires got neglected along the way.
I love that because that's like a theme of this show, right? Because that's a common conversation that we have on here. Somebody who's made it to the top of the thing they always felt like they needed to make it to the top of to feel fulfilled and happy the way they wanted to feel. And they got there and it didn't feel that way. So they had to go backwards and figure it out. So I love the fact it comes up over and over and over again. We hear it in society all the time also, but you could hear something a million times. Are you actually going to take it to heart? Are you going to implement it into your own life? That's up to you. But I want people to hear that message because it's so important to hear. You can get everything you think you want in life, but it might not be what you need. So why not today start searching for those things you need? And I love that. Honestly, Victoria, it's so good that it's such a simple thing to do. Sometimes simple is not easy. A lot of times simple is not easy, but finding 20 activities that bring you joy, scheduling 3 of those a day. I absolutely love that. I'm going to actually do that for myself. And I'm going to do that for some people that I coach because I can think of a few people who could really benefit from that. So before we go any further, we have to pause to shout out the sponsor of the show. When we come back, though, I want to talk about the future of work. Our world is changing rapidly. AI is reshaping how things look, how we do things. So work is also going to look differently in a new world in, say, 5 or 10 years. Listen to Elon Musk. Things are going to look very different than they do now. So I want to know, how can we be prepared for what the future of work is in our world, and how can we integrate effectively? We'll talk about that in a minute. Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
So, Victoria, loving this conversation. Really good stuff. I want to talk about the future of work. Where do you see things heading? The future of what work looks like. Things are changing rapidly. They're going to get even faster as they change. What is your perspective?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say that we're not new to disruption, right? So we went through quite a few of those, and technological disruptions are probably some of the deepest one, right? Because they impact the way we work and the way we live. So this artificial intelligence is definitely one of the biggest trends nowadays. And I think we're just starting to understand how exactly it is going to impact the way we work, the way we live, the way we interact with each other, the way we learn, and so on and so forth, right? So we're really in the beginning of that. Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of future of work, yes, so there are some, great scenarios that people are discussing. The way I see it is that on the large scale of things, a lot of activities will be automated. There is no way around this. It's just so much easier and so much faster and so much cheaper to automate, especially routine activities, right? So where does this leave us as leaders? So we as leaders, we are going to still manage people, but the people we're going to manage are going to be different. So if we automated the routine tasks and activities, and some of those are, research and analytical activities, we automate all that. Now, we still need people. What do we need people for? We need people to talk to other people. We need people to design the products that are um, mm, matching the needs and the desires and the benefits of other people, right? So and the workforce is actually the creative people who are free thinkers, have ideas. That's what you want to have. These are the people that you'd like to have on your team. And what happens is that these are the people that are needed to be managed very differently. So more entrepreneurial, people who have choices, right? So the previous ways we manage them through control, through rigid hierarchical structures, that's just not going to work. Through formal authority. So that really a different set of leadership skills that need to come on board that are innately human skills. So the whole premise of what we're talking about in terms of leadership, that the human leaders will stay, but the demands on leaderships are actually much different from what they were before. These are not the managers that have put different tasks along the conveyor belt, right? So these are managers who really know how to motivate people, really know how to bring them together, how to build a team, people who have empathy, people who lead with courage, not just repeating what was done in the past, but really willing to transform and innovate and take those risks. So that's kind of how the future looks like in a long run. In the short run, we're still going to have a need to have more control, and we're still going to have a lot of tasks that are not going to be automated. And in a lot of companies, we're still not going to get rid of spreadsheets. That's the way we work, right? So there's inertia there. So we're talking about the shorter term and the longer term. Where we're going longer term, that the values that leadership will need to bring to the role is really innately human values that cannot be replaced by machines.
Yeah, and what an exciting place to be, and will challenge a lot of people and their leadership, because, like you said, in the past, a lot of leadership has kind of been looked at as management, and not true leadership in the sense of leading people to be the best that they can be, helping them bring out their gifts. Like you said, being empathetic, being in tune with people, being able to read them well, being able to know how to motivate them, which are the true qualities of amazing, incredible leaders, of true leaders. And so,
I mean, we all know, each of us, right? So we all know leaders like that. And I'm sure each of us wants to be a leader like this. And I think what's good now is that it's not just out of goodness of my heart. There is actually a business demand and imperative to lead this way.
Yeah, I love it. It's pushing us as leaders, as business owners, to be more empathetic, to really be in tune with people, to understand people, to want to see them succeed. Right.
Exactly.
It's a good thing. So this is why I love these kind of conversations, because you can look at it on one end of like all these jobs are going to go away. There's going to be all these problems, but where's the opportunity? Because there's going to be so much opportunity to grow, like you said, to use your creativity, to diversify yourself, which is why it's so important. Going back to early in this conversation, talking about those things that bring you joy, like where are your gifts? Because things that bring you joy are usually also places, where your gifts can also lie. So can I focus more on the things that I'm gifted at to help other people highlight the things that they're gifted at? And that's going to help everybody involved. Not going to say it's going to be a super easy, natural transition. There's going to be so much disruption. And I know you love talking disruption, and disruption is very important. So it's good to understand it, even if you don't embrace it yet. Hear about it so you can embrace it. Be prepared for it. When you talk about disruption, because it's a great word, it sounds like something that nobody wants. Who wants to be disrupted? But disruption is inevitable. It's going to happen. And what do you feel like has been the biggest positive disruption for you in your business career or in your life, either one?
Well, I like to view distractions in a positive way, because even if it brought something that in the moment looked like a negative impact, at the end, you learned something out of it. You grew out of it, right? So it's very hard to say what's the positive disruption, what the negative. I think disruption is really neutral. It's what you get out of it.
It's how you react to it. Yes. Yeah.
So, so most of the disruptions that I can come up with are really more of a societal disruptions. I was born in Russia, in Soviet Union. So very early on, I lived through basically dismantling of the whole country.
Right.
So that's a huge disruption. Everything you knew since you were born, all of a sudden you're in a different country. Your city is called differently. You have a different currency. Whatever you were studying is not relevant anymore. That's a huge disruption.
Yeah. Jeez. And on a societal scale, not just on an individual scale, that's something else.
Right, exactly. And then you look back, it's like, well, this probably was the best thing that ever happened to me because I'm not in the Soviet Union anymore. I actually had a chance to travel the world, to build a different career, learn a new language, to immerse in new culture. And all of this would not have been possible had we not had that disruption.
Yeah. And for other people, it ruined their life, right? I'm sure many people never recovered from that disruption, and they every day were angry that it happened.
That's true.
You became fortunate, or maybe you chose to see the positive outcomes from it. Was that a choice, or was that kind of natural for you?
Well, there were factors that contributed. I was younger, right? So my whole life was in front of me. So I was much more adaptable. I had many more years in front of me, and all those things definitely contributed. So those who were caught up when they were in their retirement years, those probably they did not obviously benefit that much or at all. Again, on the outside, I am still I'm still a huge believer in the power of self-responsibility. That a lot of my peers, people who were around me, did not do the same things, and they're still bitter and angry. And some of them are really missing those old times, whatever those times were. So it is a choice. At the end of the day, there is still a choice. Some of us are more limited in our choices. Some of us are less limited in our choices. But at the end of the day, you still do have a choice. And there is a huge power of self-responsibility there.
Very true. Very, very true. Which kind of leads us, whenever we set up these podcast episodes, I love to ask people a couple of questions. One question I ask is a life lesson that had a big impact on you. And what you wrote to me was, embrace change as a catalyst for growth. Resisting it leads to stagnation, but adapting and evolving creates opportunity. So everybody experiences change in their life. The only guarantee in life is everything is going to change, right? There's no other guarantee.
Exactly. The only certainty that there will be uncertainty, right?
Yes, 100%. So when this might be super practical, and I'm curious what you'll say to this. So everybody faces change. Usually change is something that we don't want. Is there a strategy we can put in place today? We see change happening, and usually there's a gut reaction to change, and the gut reaction usually is not good. What do you do whenever you see change happening to flip that and embrace it? So somebody who's used to just moaning and complaining because things are changing, how could they start today looking at that differently?
Yes, and it is again. I think the main attitude that helped me and help people that work with me is to assume that self-responsibility. Everything that happens to me, I am responsible for it. I think that's the biggest shift that we can make, because that definitely puts you in the driver's seat. There's a lot of power in this statement that everything that happens to me, everything that's happening to me is my responsibility. So from there, I actually look at, and I encourage my clients to look at things that we can control and things that we cannot control. So things that we cannot control, just leave them alone, right? So the layoffs are happening in the company, you're not part of the decision-making crowd, leave them alone. Just look at what you can control. What you can control is you can, go on LinkedIn and you can beef up your LinkedIn profile. You can start, building your brand. You can start creating yourself as an expert. So this will definitely, make you much more resilient to changes like that. But that's a self-responsibility, right? So you can go and take classes, and you can go and build different skills, and you can go and do networking. This is just an example of something that you would think in external circumstance that you are not, that you blame for what's happening to you. And there is no denial that that's a huge disruption. If all of a sudden you come to work where you get on the phone, the last time, people now are just getting emails, apparently, mass emails. Oh, you don't have a job anymore. It is a huge disruption. It's a very unpleasant surprise, right? At the end of the day, what are you going to say? You can sit there and you can complain and be negative, and do that. Just process that negativity, process that fear. And after that, say, everything that's happening to me is my responsibility. So from now on, that's what I'm going to do. What can I control in this situation? What can I do here?
Yeah. And being proactive about it. I think that's so important, right? Because I talk to people about this a lot too. And this is what I had done for myself unknowingly, about a decade ago. I unknowingly was just starting my lifelong learning process of like, okay, I'm just going to keep learning and getting better no matter where I'm at. Doesn't matter where I'm at. And what that quickly did was led me into a place where I was kind of unfireable at my job. Like, I was there, I liked what I was doing, but when I reached the point where I couldn't go any further, I had fully prepared myself to leave. So even if I would get fired from somewhere, I already was going to fall into something else. And I think this is so important for us because so many people can feel stuck in their career, stuck in like, oh, this is the thing I do. And you become, what you do becomes such an identity to you that you can't be versatile. And lifelong learning will build that growth mindset. That growth mindset will lead you to a place of you can't be fired. Because even if you are fired, you're already prepared for the next thing. You're already creating your own thing, whatever that might be. I think that's such good advice. And especially in the disruptive state that we're in, and even more so heading into, that advice is crucial. So really, really good stuff, Victoria. I love that. As we're coming to the end of this episode, I want to encourage people to connect with you so they can find you on LinkedIn. Just search Victoria Mensch, MENSCH. Can they shoot you a DM on there, send you a friend request, get to know you?
Absolutely.
Cool. I encourage everybody to go do that. Also, if you want to be the authority in your field and what you do, an expert in your profession, I would encourage you to launch your own podcast. If that's something that sounds cool to you, you can check out the Pro Podcaster Academy at robzwentz.com. Super simple to do that. And also, they can go to your website, svexecutive.academy. What do you suggest they do when they jump to the website?
Well, on the website, we have programs that are on the corporate level. So if you're looking at beefing up your leadership team, at setting up programs for teams, for innovation management, for how to lead with sustainability, how to manage innovation, how to build the kind of disruption-proof organization. So those are the programs that you can find there. Very cool.
Anything you want to leave our audience with before we sign off? It's been great having you here today. I really loved the wisdom that you've shared. I know you've got tons of experience in this, so I really value that. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you want to leave people with?
No, maybe just reiterate one more time. So that leadership really comes from self-leadership. So become a role model, become a leader that you want to see in others, and that's how it's going to unfold from there.
Yeah. And it's amazing as you become your own leader, how people naturally gravitate to you and away from you. And it happens just by the way you're carrying yourself, presenting yourself. You find yourself in new circles and away from the circles you didn't want to be a part of anymore. And I love that about self-leadership. It's so important. And I always say too, going along with what you just said, if you're not leading your own life, somebody else is, or something else is. If you want to have the life that you want to live, you have to lead it. So we all should desire to be leaders for our own lives. So I love that message. That's really good. Victoria, thank you for being here. Another incredible testimony, a breakthrough. Until next time, this has been the Unstuck Movement.